Sergeant Wells gazed upon the violet sky, utterly foreign despite a year on this planet. He longed painfully for the azure facade of home, for the comfort of familiar terrain, now oceans away. Wells stood vigil, rifle slack. His patrol group rested among azure-tinged ferns, their bioluminescence casting an eerie glow. The men sat wordless, faces stony. Reality had warped since arriving for war against the insectoid Mazra. Wells once envisioned heroic battles, vanquishing the enemy with ease. How naive those fantasies seemed now. There was no glory here, only damp dirt, blistering heat, and the unrelenting threat of Mazra ambushes. Each day chipped away optimism and morality. Wells increasingly mirrored the bleak aliens they aimed to conquer. During an ambush last week, Wells had glimpsed the enemy's nesting burrows. The mere sight sickened him for days, displaying the Mazra not as mindless bugs, but living beings defending home and young. Were the Mazra so different? Did they not also long for the familiar? Wells gazed upward, pondering the light years between this remote planet and all he held dear. How he yearned to see Earth's innocent blue skies again, to forget this ugly interstellar conflict. But the war machine carried on, uncaring. Abruptly, the men tensed, raising weapons. Shrieks echoed ahead. The Mazra were near. Wells sighed deeply and steeled himself. Surging adrenaline could not fully subdue the cold pit within. He bitterly accepted that Earth's azure facade was lost to him now. On this alien world, only the violet dark held sway. The patrol marched warily into the luminous ferns towards the alien cries. Wells gripped his blaster, jaw clenched. He wanted only to survive this hellish place, return home with a beating heart and still intact sanity. Suddenly, a blur of chitin and claws burst from the underbrush. Wells reacted on instinct, firing rapid pulses as the hulking Mazra charged. It collapsed just shy of ripping Wells apart, ichor seeping from its exoskeleton. More Mazra flooded in, shrieking vengeance. Wells's unit responded with blazing gunfire, bodies crumpling amidst the azure glow. Yet more appeared, trampling the fallen, heedless of self-preservation. A primal desperation radiated from the Mazra, the ferocity of parents defending their brood. Wells realized with horror that the nests lay directly ahead. This assault was an act of love, not hate, a devotion Wells understood in his bones. As a Mazra dove for him, Wells froze. His saw not a monster, but a creature safeguarding all it cherished. Wells thought of his own family, so unfathomably far away, of the empty chair at his childhood dinner table, waiting for a son who might never return. The Mazra's claws raked Wells's chest plate but failed to breach it. Wells stared into its cluster of ebony eyes, seeing his own reflection. In that moment, two soldiers on opposing sides recognized their mirror selves. The blaster slipped from Wells's numb fingers. He felt the battle raging distantly as though underwater. None of it mattered anymore. There was no righteous side here. Only children separated from their families by uncaring galaxies. When the evacuation shuttle arrived, Wells wandered aboard in a daze. He took one last look at the violet sky, knowing he would never again view any sky the same way. The cold pit inside had expanded into a black hole that would haunt him forever. As the planet shrank away, Wells bowed his head and wept for all the lost children, both human and Mazra, for every victim of war's pointless cruelty.